What's going on, guys? We're gonna do a movie collection video today for a couple of reasons. Number one is I really have to test out this new camera that I bought, and this is a perfect excuse to do that. Number two, I have not done a movie collection video for like 3 years, 3.5 years. I remember the last time I did one was right after I moved into this house. So that was around September of 2021. So here we are at the beginning of 2025. And I promised you guys I would do a movie collection video because most of my videos are filmed in my YouTube room, my office, whatever I want to call it, and I keep my movie collection out here in the living area, which is like the movie room, you know, so it makes the most sense for them to be out here. So I have this entire shelving of movies, and I have another piece of shelving that only has the top row filled so far, but that's what we're gonna go through today. Now, a couple of things before I get into it. Number one is I have no idea how long this video is going to be, but I'm not gonna go in depth into every single movie and give you guys a mini review because then we would just be here all day long. It's also a test to see how long the battery life is gonna last in this camera as well. The second thing is I've never actually counted all of my movies before, so if any brave soul out there wants to go ahead and count how many movies I have and tell me the actual number in the comments at the end of the video, you would be a real trooper. But also you gotta be careful because, you know, I have things like this, which is like the Rocky collection, right? So there's 6 movies in here, so you can't count this as 1, you gotta count this as 6. So you gotta be careful when I come to, you know, collection sets and things like that, that you're accurately counting the number of movies. So it'll be like those jelly bean jars where people guess the amount, although I have no idea what the actual amount is. So anyways, let's get right into it. And as I start, we're gonna start with what's actually on top of the shelves, which is sort of the collector's sets. Okay, so the first thing I have here on the side is this collector's set of the Evil Dead. So the original Evil Dead movie, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead from 1981, that is my favorite horror film of all time. I love the low budget, gritty nature to it. It's a film that inspires me and makes me think that it is believable that I could make films if I really wanted to. It's just a bunch of kids going out into the middle of the woods and trying to come up with the scariest shit ever. I love the effects in it, everything about it I adore, but I also love the entire Evil Dead franchise. So this is a collector set that has the original Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV series, the 4K for the 2 Evil Dead movies. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the rights to their own movie of Army of Darkness, so Army of Darkness is not included in here. But still, I felt like I needed to have this, and Evil Dead is one of those movies that I have multiple copies of. So that's the front there, the back with the cabin, but the coolest thing about this is that it opens up, and you get this little groovy book in here, sort of like a Book of the Dead. But there you see this really cool image of Ash on the front, opens up. Then you got the 4K of the Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. Then you got the Blu-rays of both as well in there. Make sure you can see that. And then you have the Ash vs. Evil Dead complete series, season 1, season 2, and season 3 all in there. So really cool collector set, and then a bonus disc with a bunch of special features. Good old handsome Sam Raimi on there. Yes, so this is really cool, one of my favorites. Then I have this Hellraiser set from Arrow that just came out not too long ago. It is the Quartet of Torment. This is the first 4 Hellraiser movies, and I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're like, Ryan, you constantly tell us that you hate the Hellraiser sequels. This is true. However, there are instances like this where the collection set is so fucking awesome, I gotta get it anyways. So the original Hellraiser, once again, one of my favorite horror films of all time, but this is just so cool. First of all, it comes with an entire book, and I don't just mean like a little booklet or like, you know, a little, just sort of like breakdown of the movies. I mean like this is an entire actual book. Like this is an entire history, making of, information on, talking about all 4 of the first 4 Hellraiser movies, and it's hardcover. This is insane. But I just gotta show you how cool this is. So obviously you get the pinhead image there, you take it out and you have this musculature over at the top of the skeleton. This slides out and you get the actual skeleton beneath it. And then, as this opens up, you have, of course, we have such sights to show you. And then you got the first 4 movies. And I love the little design choice of having 1 chain on the first movie, 2 chains on the second movie, and so on. Really cool creative detail there. Next thing up top here, this is actually a DVD set. So I know ancient technology, right? In a world of 4K and Blu-rays with DVDs, but I've had this for a long time. And this is the complete classic monster set. So this is all of the original Universal monsters: Dracula, Frankenstein, Invisible Man, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and even Phantom of the Opera. So this is all of those here. So each set, like the Dracula set, gives you every movie that the original, Dracula series was. Bela Lugosi, of course, was only really in the first one. But there's all those. So since this is a complete collection video, I'll show you everything that's in here. So it does come with this little booklet about all the movies. So that's pretty nifty. And then we'll get to the films themselves. So in the Dracula collection, it has the original Dracula, Dracula's daughter, Son of Dracula, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. So those are all the movies that involve the Dracula series, the original run. Frankenstein series, which I think is by far the best of the Universal Monster series. If you're talking about an entire series, an entire franchise, Frankenstein only really has, I think, like 1 movie that kind of sucks. But other than that, all of these movies are great. So it's got the original Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. So that's all on there. On the Mummy collection, you got The Mummy, The Mummy's Hand, Mummy's Tomb, Mummy's Ghost, Mummy's Curse, and Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. I always wondered if they did something like that modern day. Imagine they take a real horror character and they just threw, like, I don't know, Jay and Silent Bob meet Art the Clown or something like that. That would be like the equivalent of modern day. The Invisible Man collection. This has Invisible Man Returns, Invisible Woman, Invisible Agent, Invisible Man's Revenge, and Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man. Then on the Wolfman collection, we have The Wolfman, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein, Werewolf of London, and She-Wolf of London. So that is on there. Then we have just the Phantom of the Opera. This is just the color version here, not like the original, but the one after, I think. And then Creature from the Black Lagoon, Revenge of the Creature, and Creature Walks Among Us. So Creature only got 3 movies. Also, he was a late bloomer. He didn't come out until the 50s, but we need the Creature back as well, I think. Now, these other collector sets are empty up here. I just put them up for the display, and the actual movies are in the case, so I'll just show you. This is the Friday the 13th complete collection case there, but I put the movies actually on the shelf, so that one's empty. And as well, I got the Scream, the original trilogy, the first 3 Screams 4K collection, so that's there. What I really like about this is that the indentations of the knives are actually indented on the box. It's a good touch. And I just have this up here too. This is a Child's Play 2 4K, but I got it signed by Alex Vincent, the actor that plays Andy in the movie, so I got to meet him at a Comic-Con, had him sign that, so yeah, pretty cool. Now there is actually another big collector set I have, but I'm gonna talk about that when I get through it in the collection, because it'll make more sense, I promise. Also, I do organize my movies alphabetically. This is just the best way to do it for me. Everybody organizes their stuff differently, but I find it's the best way to find a movie. So if I want to watch, Nightmare on Elm Street, I just go to the ends and I find it. And it's just easy for me, convenient for me to organize things that way. I know everyone has their differences. Some people do it by genre, some people do it by director. I have no idea. That's too chaotic for my OCD brain, so I just go with alphabetical order. With that, I start with the numbers and then I go into the letters. But I also have instances where, like with Batman, Batman Begins, and then the next movie is The Dark Knight. That's technically not alphabetical, but I keep sequels together. So what I'll do is I'll finish out the series of sequels, and then I'll go back to the original lettering. So it'll go Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, and then it'll go back to B's with Battle Royale is the next movie. So if that makes sense to anybody out there, I suppose it doesn't need to. It only needs to make sense to me. But that's how I do it. All right, starting off with the numbers, we have 10 Cloverfield Lane. Really good suspense thriller. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, John Goodman. John Goodman, when is he ever not great in a movie? Technically a spin-off or sequel to the original Cloverfield, but 10 Cloverfield Lane is my favorite of all those movies that they made. This next one here, as I guess a rarity, this is a collection of 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later. Love both of these films. We are getting the sequel finally, the conclusion to the trilogy, I guess, with 28 Years Later coming out this year in 2025 sometime. So I'm thinking about doing a review for each movie as that release gets closer. But 28 Days Later specifically, the physical media, the actual physical media of it, is very hard to find. It's very rare. It's mostly out of print. So if you have a copy of 28 Days Later in any capacity, hold on to that shit. All right, next one here is 31, a Rob Zombie horror movie. I know Rob Zombie is kind of hit or miss, even with me, but I like this one. We have the movie 50/50, you know, a wholesome comedy about getting cancer. There is 500 Days of Summer, a great romantic comedy film that just kind of hits, you know, deep. It hits hard. It hits hard, especially when I first watched it when I was younger, going through a breakup and everything. Like there's lessons to be learned in this movie if you can get past the fact of the comedy and like let the message land, you know. Then we have, of course, one of the greatest films ever made, 2001, A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick. I legitimately think this is one of the best films ever made. It holds up today. It was made in the 60s. The special effects are astounding. It has a lot to say about humanity and our advancement in evolution and technology. And we're talking about, you know, AI taking over the world now. Kubrick was on some shit back then, man. Like, he knew. Then, of course, Pride and Joy. This is the Alien collection, the first 4 movies at least. This is a really cool collector's set as well. I'll show you guys. So this one kind of opens up like a book. And then the Alien anthology. You got the original Alien there. Then of course, you know, a little space jockey there. And then into Aliens, game over, man. Showing some images there. Alien 3, which, you know, some people love it. I don't know. And then, of course, Alien Resurrection right there as well. Really cool little set of all the Alien films. It does come with a booklet too. Next, since I do consider this to be part of the Alien series, is Prometheus, a movie that I absolutely love, that I have been defending since it came out in 2012. I think it's a masterpiece. I love this movie. One of my favorites in the Alien franchise, one of my favorite Ridley Scott films in general. For so many years upon years, everybody shit-talked this movie and tried to come up with all of these BS nitpicky things that they hate about it, and I've been defending it forever. And then all of a sudden, in like the last 2 years, there's been this resurfacing love of Prometheus. I don't know where it came from, but I'm glad that it's here because I feel a little bit more justified. Like, I hear so many people now talking about how they also love this movie, but I'm like, where were you guys in 2012? Like, I felt like I was the only person on planet Earth that loved this movie, but more people are coming out about it. With that, Alien Covenant, which was a sequel to that, but also becoming an Alien film just in itself. I have way more issues with this movie, but I still really do love it. What I love about it is how bleak it is. I think this is the most horror of all the Alien films other than the original. Like, I really, really do. I don't think this gets enough credit for being a horror movie because it's dark, it's bleak, it's uncaring. And there's like a lot of horrific shit that happens in this movie. I just have like minor gripes with it, but I still really like it. And then, of course, Alien Romulus. This is the 4K that just came out. I really enjoyed this movie, too. It's growing on me more and more. I liked it a lot when I first saw it, but I've rewatched it twice since I got the 4K, and I'm liking it more and more each time. So this is a movie that's definitely growing on me, and I do really enjoy it. Now, I actually don't own the Alien vs. Predator films, and it's not because I don't want to. I just never got around to picking them up, you know? It's, now I feel incomplete. So I do have to get the Alien vs. Predator films at some point, but I don't have them. Next is Alita Battle Angel, one of the few good live-action anime manga adaptations. I would really give it a shot, especially if you are a fan of the Alita manga. Next one is American Mary. This is a horror film with Catherine Isabelle, who is a practicing surgeon and starts using her surgical abilities to do some weird under-the-table shit and also take out her revenge on a bunch of people. So, yeah, wholesome film there. Next one, of course, gotta have it, American Psycho. I need to return some videotapes. Listen, I got a bone to pick with this Blu-ray, though. I love this movie. American Psycho is one of my favorite movies ever, but whoever put out this Blu-ray, this, I don't even know what the company is, but whenever you see this sort of like silver lining, don't get this shit. There's better versions of this. I know I think there's like a really fancy 4K version of American Psycho that I want to grab, because every movie I've had that has been released by whatever company did this Blu-ray with like this like silver line, beyond high definition, whatever, they've all stopped working. Every single one of these Blu-ray, because I had one from The Descent that was the same exact release, and that also stopped working. So I do not recommend picking up this version. Wait, save your money, and get the better, collector's 4K version, because these Blu-rays suck. Next, American Werewolf in London, great horror film, John Landis, good stuff. Then we got Annihilation. This is another one that came out that I feel like a lot of people didn't like, but I really, really enjoyed. It's just the atmosphere of this, and that sequence with the weird fucking bear creature. It's just crazy. Also, I'm sorry, this is a new camera, so I'm looking at the video screen instead of into the lens. My bad. Anyways. Next one. Okay, so this is a movie called Antichrist. This is an extremely fucked up movie. Lars von Trier. It's got Willem Dafoe in it, but you're going to see more of Willem Dafoe than you've ever wanted to see, or maybe you want to see, but not in the context you want to see it. Extremely dark, atmospheric, artsy kind of film, but in the right mood, when you're ready for some real bleak shit, some real bleak shit, this one will scratch that itch for you, I promise. Now, if you want more beautiful shit, you got Arrival. This is a really great movie. Denis Villeneuve. Aliens arrive. We communicate with them in strange ways. Good movie. Then, of course, I have one of my crown jewels, the Austin Powers trilogy. I love all three Austin. I'm not like one of those people that's like, oh, the first Austin Powers was great, the sequels suck. No, Goldmember might be the best of the entire trilogy. I'm saying, hot take, Goldmember is the best Austin Powers movie. I love gold. Would you like a smoke and a pancake, pipe and a cripe, bong and a blitz? And there is no pleasing you. Put that in the skin box, dear. Anyways, then I do have the Avengers movies. I don't have all the Marvel movies because I don't like all of them, but I like the Avengers movies. I like the team-up movies. The original, then I got, Age of Ultron, and then, of course, I have Infinity War and Endgame. And Infinity War is my favorite MCU movie, I think, just because it's so batshit crazy. It's like, it felt like we finally got there. They'd been building that shit up for movie after movie, and then we finally got there. Next, going alphabetically, we have Batman and Batman Returns. I love the Tim Burton Batman movies. I even might like Batman Returns a little bit more than the original. I don't have Batman Forever or Batman and Robin, but I do have the Dark Knight trilogy. I have all of these on Steelbook as well. So Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises. Really cool Steelbooks there. So those are pretty dope. Particularly like the back of Batman Begins there, and then the back of the Dark Knight has, of course, the Joker there. And then Dark Knight Rises dropped the ball. Just Rain. Should have put Bane there. Then we have a Japanese movie called Battle Royale. This is a great film that a lot of other movies and stories have taken inspiration from. Essentially, because crime is so rampant within the youths, they take a random class of, I think, 9th graders or 10th graders, and they drop them on an island, and they give them all weapons and put bombs around their necks and say, hey, you're gonna fight and kill each other off until only one survives. Crazy movie, really good. Then I got Beetlejuice, the ghost with the most, gotta have it, Beetlejuice. This next one here is very important to me. This is a Criterion edition of the Before trilogy. So if you don't know what this is, last Valentine's Day I did a review of the Before trilogy, actually, so you can check that out. But it's essentially films by Richard Linklater, and in the 90s he made a movie about two characters, Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, and they meet on a train, and the entire first movie is called Before Sunrise. And the whole movie is just them hanging out. It's a really cool experiment of a movie of just following two characters walking around, having different conversations, and essentially falling in love with one another. It's one of those kind of movies, but not in a cheesy way. Like, it's really, really good. It's really good, creative stuff. But he went even further with it because 10 years, or 9 or 10 years after he made the first movie, he made a second movie called Before Sunset, which is where those two characters meet up again after not seeing each other for 9 years. So that's a really interesting take. And then he concluded the trilogy 9 years after that, having the characters, basically catching up on what's happened with them. And what's really cool about this is you get to see the perspective of a relationship through characters that are in their 20s, in their 30s, and in their 40s. And it's all the same actors and all the same characters reprising the role, once per decade. And it's, really creative kind of look into a relationship. Next one is The Big Lebowski. Hell yeah. This is, one of the best comedies ever. But the weird thing is, I'm actually not a huge fan of the Coen brothers movies. I know that might seem weird, but they do have some movies that I just cannot deny are a masterpiece. This is a little like, I guess they used to call these digibooks. They don't make as many of these now as they used to, but that's that one. Pretty cool. Next one, yes, Big Trouble in Little China. Oh my God, man. One of the best John Carpenter movies that's not horror. If you've never seen Big Trouble in Little China, a lot of people still don't get the joke. You know what I mean? Like, the joke is that Kurt Russell plays this stereotypical hero. He's wearing this tank top, he's got the machine gun, he's got like the long mullet hair, like total 80s classic hero, but he's such a dipshit. Like, he fucks up everything. He's totally useless for most of the movie, but the movie still presents him as the hero, and in a way he still is the hero. But that's what makes this so funny. It's also got all this crazy martial arts and fantasy and mysticism and monsters, and it goes full balls to the wall fantasy, and it's one of the best, man. If you get the humor, it's one of the best. Then we got Birdman with Michael Keaton. Pretty good movie there. Speaking of comedies, I think this is one of the funniest movies ever made. This is Black Dynamite. It's sort of a spoof of the classic 70s, like, blaxploitation style movies, but done so over the top. And it's filmed as if it came out in the 70s, and there's movie mistakes like the boom mic falling in frame and stuff like that. But there's like some things that happen here with the dialogue. Like, your introduction to the main character is he's in a threesome, like banging a bunch of chicks, and then it cuts away to him talking to another girl, and he's like, yo, be quiet. You're going to wake up the rest of the bitches. And then it pans to the bed, and it's just filled with women. And that's Black Dynamite. And that's how I feel, we should all aspire to be in life. Black Snake Moan. I think this is an incredibly underrated film. Not just because it has my long-term movie crush, Christina Ricci, naked for half of the movie. This is a plus, I'm not going to lie. But this is actually a really smart movie about mental disorders. I know that might seem strange, but Justin Timberlake's character deals with extreme anxiety in this movie, and there's a scene where Christina Ricci's character comforts him, not in a sexual way, but in like a real way, and it's something that I think is actually really beautiful that is not displayed in movies too often, and it's a shame that this, was kind of underrated and underappreciated at the time. I think it's one of the most underrated movies ever. Then we have Black Swan with Natalie Portman. Really good film there as well. I have the original Blade Runner, The Final Cut, Ridley Scott's masterpiece there, and of course its follow-up, Blade Runner 2049 with literally me, Ryan Gosling. Great film as well. I was so surprised when this came out how much I loved it. Speaking of Ryan Gosling, next one is Blue Valentine. This is a really dark movie about a relationship as well, but it's about the foundation and the crumbling of a relationship. It kind of jumps through time. Really, really dark, depressing movie that I definitely recommend. Very good. Very realistic movie. You know, maybe not in the best way, but Boyhood. Interesting film. Richard Linklater, the same guy that made the Before trilogy. He filmed this movie over the course of 12 years with one actor starting out as a little boy and filming every single year, watching him grow up. So you actually get to see him grow up in the movie. But I think that the movie is more than just that novelty. I think it is an interesting story about just what it's like to grow up in the world. What I love about Richard Linklater movies is that he makes movies that are just about average people. And sometimes I think we need that. You know, not every movie needs to have, you know, some detective or, you know, sort of superhero or something. Sometimes we need to watch a movie just about life to give us perspective on our own lives. And I think that this is one of those for me. Then we need a movie like Bronson that is just about Tom Hardy being this jacked criminal that beats the shit out of everybody. Sometimes we need that too. We got Cabin in the Woods, great horror movie that plays on the tropes of other horror movies. Definitely recommend it. I do have Captain America, The Winter Soldier, which I think is a pretty good one, as well as Civil War there. Then I got a movie called Captain Fantastic. Another wholesome sort of, I consider it a family movie, even though it is rated R and there's coarse language, and I do think you see Viggo Mortensen's dick. But regardless, very wholesome family movie. I like this one a lot. Next one is Casino Royale. And yeah, this is actually the only James Bond movie that I own. And again, that's not on purpose. I just never got them. I think they have a big collector's set of that too, so I'll have to pick it up. But Daniel Craig is my favorite Bond. And then we got Cemetery Man on 4K. I was so stoked that they had this because this was one of those movies that was incredibly hard to find for the longest amount of time. If you guys have never seen Cemetery Man, I don't know how to describe this movie to you. All I'm going to tell you is just watch it. Just watch it and make your own opinion. Cemetery Man. Then we got Chasing Amy, one of the best Kevin Smith movies right there. Then moving into more C's, I have the Chucky collection. I did put this on the shelf because this is kind of like a thinner one, so it doesn't take up too much space. But this is all 7 Child's Play movies. So the original Child's Play 2, Child's Play 3, Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, and Cult of Chucky. So all 7 Child's Play movies, and this is what I was watching when I did my retrospective last year. Great stuff. Next one here is Clerks 3. So I do have Clerks 1 and 2, but I have them on DVD, so we'll get to it. But I separate my Blu-rays and DVDs. So Clerks 3 is the only one I have on Blu-ray, but I did get this one signed as well by Brian O'Halloran, who plays Dante there. So got that signed, got to meet him not too long ago. Then we have A Clockwork Orange, Stanley Kubrick. This is another one of those like digibooks. Again, great movie. I mean, every movie that Kubrick makes is, you know, extraordinary, but it's got like all that cool booklet stuff inside, and got that there. Clockwork Orange, gotta have it. Notice villains drink milk. Milk is disgusting. If I see you drinking milk, I'll know. Then we go, have Conan. Yes, Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer. Listen, I'm on an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie binge right now. I decided that I'm going to watch every single Arnold movie that I've never seen before so that I could give you guys the most accurate tier list ranking of Arnold Schwarzenegger ever. I have seen these, and I love Conan. And, dude, all those people that are like, oh, we don't want Conan in Mortal Kombat, blah, blah, blah. Just, you know what? Shut up. It's time for Conan to come back. That's what I'm saying. Make the King Conan movie. Why not? Then I have The Conjuring. Really big fan of this movie. And I'm not a huge fan of like ghost or supernatural movies, but the Conjuring movies I think are great. At least the first 2. I have Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2. I do not have Conjuring 3. Wasn't that good, but maybe I'll pick it up sometime. I have Constantine with Keanu Reeves. Hell yeah. Even though he's not British or blonde, I still think he plays a pretty good Constantine at the end of the day. Another Richard Linklater, Dazed and Confused. This is the Criterion collection as well. So pretty nifty little set. Opens up. You got this big book in here with all that fun stuff in it. We got Daredevil, Ben Affleck. Come on, Ben Affleck, Daredevil. Bullseye. Come on, you know you love it. I have the Dawn of the Dead. This is the Zack Snyder remake. The original Dawn of the Dead, George Romero, is so hard to find on physical media, and I do not own a copy of it. I wish that I did. I do not. The original Deadpool, which is really the only Deadpool movie that I like. Sorry, not sorry. It just kind of, it wore off for me after the first one, but first one's still good, I think. The Departed, great Martin Scorsese movie. And then this is a rebuy of The Descent because my original Blu-ray stopped working because of whatever company releases those types of Blu-rays. So I hope this one's a little bit better, although I do think it's the same. It's just a repackaging, so oh well. Django Unchained, yes, one of the best Tarantino movies right there. This is not technically a movie. This is Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. So this is a web series that was put on Blu-ray. A couple things about this. One, this is technically the first Blu-ray that I ever bought. So interestingly enough. And I was obsessed with this when it came out. I thought it was the funniest fucking thing I'd ever watched. And it still kind of is, you know. The hammer is my penis. If you know, you know. Great stuff. If you get a chance to watch Dr. Horrible, I do recommend it. I think it's really good. Speaking of doctors, I have Dr. Sleep, another criminally underrated movie, fantastic film, sort of a sequel to The Shining, sort of. I don't put it with The Shining because I consider it separate enough because it is its own thing, but it's about Danny Torrance, the boy from The Shining, as an adult. But like, this movie is great. This is a fantastic horror film, and I highly recommend it. It's another one of those movies that bombed in theaters and definitely didn't deserve to. Really good film. We got a movie called Domino, which is Keira Knightley as a badass bounty hunter along with Mickey Rourke. Definitely recommend that one. Little weird, little trippy, but in a good way. Then we got Donnie Darko, because sometimes we need to save the future. Movie called Don't Breathe, which I think is a really good suspense horror movie. Definitely recommend it. I have the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula on 4K, which looks great on 4K. Visually stunning movie for sure. I got Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell, good horror film. And then one of my favorites of all time, I have Drive. So I have the original Blu-ray of Drive when it first came out. And then recently they released this 4K Steelbook version, and this is a piece of art. I'm telling you, man. The way that this looks, the 4K of Drive, is just incredible. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, in my top 10. Call me a basic film bro, you know, call me whatever you want. My name is literally Ryan, so I think I have a little bit of credit there. But this is an example to me how you can take an incredibly simple story idea, but tell it in such a compelling, visually stunning sort of way. Between like the imagery of this movie and the music, and also the character himself, the driver, and just his isolation, his loneliness, and him trying to understand how to even interact with people. Like there's so many things going on in this movie that I love, and I know that it's kind of become a meme, but this is one of my favorite films of all time. When I first watched this, it just became my entire personality for the rest of my life and will continue to do so. All right, so we're gonna start row number 2. We're only on row number 2. I hope you don't have much going on with your day. Anyways, we're starting off strong with Dune, part 1 and part 2. Part 2 on 4K. I love these films. I love the Dune universe, and Denis Villeneuve did an amazing job with these. Can't wait for Messiah. Next one I have is called Edge of Tomorrow, or Live, Die, Repeat. I don't know what people want to call this movie now, but it's got Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt. Again, one of those movies that's great. It didn't do too well at the box office. Also based on a manga that's called All You Need Is Kill. Really good stuff. Next one is Equilibrium. This is an action sci-fi movie with Christian Bale. It takes place in the future where people's emotions are suppressed. And it has gun kata, which is basically martial arts with guns. I'll try not to spend too long on this, but this next one, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, is my personal favorite movie of all time. This is the movie that means the most to me. This is the movie that has gotten the most emotional response out of me by watching it, and a movie that I learned a lot of lessons from. It is a movie about a man that he finds out the girl he was dating has undergone a procedure to erase all of her memories of him, so she doesn't know who he is anymore. And he gets super pissed off about that, and he goes to the same place, the same doctors, and requests to have his memory erased of her. but about 70% of the movie takes place within his mind as they're going in and erasing memories. They start with the most recent memory, the breakup, and they go through backwards through time, basically erasing memory after memory of every interaction he's had with her going back to when they first met. And about halfway through the procedure, in his mind, he becomes conscious and he wants to keep the memories, but he's helpless to the procedure, and he's watching every single memory disappear one after another, and it's got Jim Carrey. It's not a comedy. There's some funny scenes in here, but it's not a comedy. It's more of a drama, I would say, and Kate Winslet. But this is just an incredible film, and every time I watch it, it just reminds me of where I was at that time. You know, I had a really bad breakup in my early 20s when I was watching this for the first time, and it just kind of makes you appreciate things more, you know. And I think that's the main takeaway for me, is that you understand that not many things in life are permanent, but every experience that you go through is a building block that makes you who you are as a person. And you know, as much as we want to forget some things, sometimes it's important that they happened, you know. So I don't know, it's just one of those films that it's not going to work for everybody, you know what I mean? But for me, and it has been since I first saw it many years ago, has always been, probably forever will be, my favorite movie of all time, Eternal Sunshine. Next we have Everything Everywhere All at Once. Then we get to some more of my pride and joy. I have another copy of The Evil Dead. Besides the collector set that I showed you, I do have the original Evil Dead on Blu-ray. I also have Evil Dead 2 on Blu-ray. And I have Evil Dead 3, Army of Darkness on Blu-ray, but I also have the Steelbook 4K of Army of Darkness. So yes, even though it's not included in the collector set, technically now I have every Evil Dead movie on 4K, well, of the original trilogy. So little Steelbook there of Army of Darkness, which comes with every version. The only thing I don't like about this is that the only version that is 4K is the theatrical cut. So there's an extended director's cut with more scenes and the different ending, and that's just on Blu-ray, you know, which is fine, but if you're putting out a 4K set, put it all on 4K, not just the theatrical cut. But anyways, that's there. Then I have the Evil Dead remake from 2013, which I guess is the only Evil Dead movie I don't have on 4K, just the Blu-ray. And then I have Evil Dead Rise, which yes, I do have on 4K. So there's that. I got a movie called Ex Machina, pretty good sci-fi, you know, I guess thriller movie if you want to consider it that. One of the greatest horror films ever made, The Exorcist, gotta have it. We have another Kubrick film, Eyes Wide Shut, very, you know, wholesome movie about cultist activity. Have a Criterion collection of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Johnny Depp plays Hunter S. Thompson, goes to Vegas, does a lot of drugs. That's pretty much the movie, but very entertaining. I first saw it in the middle of the night one time. I was way too young. I was probably like 12 or 13. I was flipping through channels. It was like 2 a.m. And it was the scene right in the beginning where he's got the fly swatter and he's like, we can't stop here. It's bad country. And then it shifts to them going to Vegas and there's like all those dinosaurs in the blood orgy. I was like, what the fuck is this movie? It took me like years before I ever saw it again. This is Jet Li's Fearless, good martial arts film. Again, it's released by that same company that did American Psycho. I don't know if this has stopped working, but I wouldn't put it past this Blu-ray to have stopped working. Then we got Fight Club, great film, one of my favorites, of course, gotta have it. So next is Final Destination 2, which is the only Final Destination movie I own. But there's a reason for that, because this is the best, okay? And I was gonna buy all the others, but now I see that they've released a collector's set with all 5 of them in it, so I'm just gonna buy that version. But Final Destination 2 is a movie that everybody in my age bracket specifically remembers for that highway scene in the beginning, and it has scarred and tormented us for many years. And beyond that, though, I do think Final Destination 2 is my favorite. Then I have The Fly remake with Jeff Goldblum, dude. One of the best body horror movies, man. Now, beyond my DVD collection, I do have a Blu-ray copy of the original Frankenstein that found its way into my collection. And then I have the entire Friday the 13th series from that collector set that I showed you, so I'll just run through these. I have the original Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th Part 2, Part 3, final chapter, part 5, part 6, part 7, part 8. Jason Goes to Hell. We got Jason X in space, Freddy versus Jason, and then the remake of the 2009 version, and then it also comes with a bonus disc filled with special features. So there is that. So the entire Friday the 13th collection. Will there ever be another Friday the 13th movie? Who knows, man. Then I have Full Metal Jacket as well, Stanley Kubrick. Full Metal Jacket. I have the Heisei Gamera movies. So I have Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, Gamera, Attack of Legion, Gamera, Revenge of Iris, which this is not only the best Gamera movie, but one of the best kaiju movies of all time. If you guys have never watched Gamera, Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris, is a masterpiece of the genre. And I also really love Gamera the Brave. It's a lot cuter. But you know what? Sometimes you need some cuteness in your life. Gangs of New York, classic movie, great stuff. Ghost in the Shell, the live action. Now, I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one, but I actually think this movie is pretty good. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece. I'm not saying it's the best, representation of the series, but for what it is, for what it's worth, I think this movie got way too much hate when it came out. And the thing that separates it for me is you can tell the people that made this actually liked Ghost in the Shell. There's so many times where it feels like a property gets picked up by a director and they don't know what it is, they don't have history with it, they didn't grow up watching it. But this movie, the way that they made the characters look, the way that they designed the world, that they recaptured specific shots from the anime and put it into the movie, and the creator of Ghost in the Shell was literally on set with them, I think this movie gets a bad rap, and I don't think it's that bad. Again, not a masterpiece, but I don't think it's that bad. Next, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, great David Fincher movie. I really wish he would have made the other sequels. I know this movie didn't do too well, but I would have loved to see more in that universe. This is a movie called God Bless America. It is about a man that gets fed up with the degeneracy of the world and decides to go on a killing spree. To take down like reality TV stars and the Westboro Baptist Church people and stuff. Dracula, move. So yeah, he just basically goes on a rampage. The movie ends in like a American Idol like spoof. Yeah. Oh, and in the beginning he kills a baby, but only in his mind. Then I got the Godfather trilogy, Godfather 1, 2, and 3 right there. And finally, we've reached another crown jewel of my collection, the Godzilla films. So I do have every live-action Godzilla film on Blu-ray, but there's some specialness with this. Okay, so first I had when Criterion released the original Godzilla 1954 on their special Criterion release, although hardcore Godzilla fans will know that when you open this up, even though this is really cool, and you open it up and Godzilla pops out, this is not the Godzilla design from 1954. But they put it in there anyways. It's okay. They probably didn't know. I'm not upset about it. Just gotta point it out. But here's where we get creative. So Criterion also got the rights to the entire Showa era, which is, for those that don't know, the first 15 Godzilla films from 1954 to 1975, I believe. And they released it in this mammoth of a collection, this gigantic, and I did review this collection when it first came out and I got it. This is the Criterion set for all of these Showa films. It is this giant, massive book, and it's really cool. It's got all this information on the movies and stuff, and, it goes from film to film. It's got custom artwork, all that kind of stuff. So this is really cool, right? But there was a massive problem with this that I experienced and a lot of other people experienced because they had the discs in this sort of just holster page here, but the glue that would hold this together would melt very easily and the discs would fall down in the case. And I had this experience too, because when you get this, right, you want to display it upright, right? You don't want to set it down. You want to put it up so you can see the image, right? But when you put it up, the discs all fell down in the case. So, excuse me, I had to clean off all this glue that was stuck to the discs, and it was a terrible time. So I went online and I ordered a custom case for it. So this is, and some other people have this too, but this is a smaller, more condensed version of that in a custom case that I bought online that easily holds the discs in a regular, you know, Blu-ray DVD, you know, kind of holding pattern so that they don't get all destroyed. So yes, I do have all of the Criterion Collection Godzilla films in this nice regular custom set. And the fact that that fits on the shelf, whereas, you know, I don't think you're gonna have much luck, you know, putting this baby on the shelf. Maybe you've got really, really big shelves, but I do not. So that is very helpful for me. And then after that, I have all of the Heisei films. Now, I do believe that a lot of these are out of print too, so I'm glad I got them when I did, but this is the Godzilla 1984. Then we have Godzilla vs. Biollante, which is my personal favorite Godzilla film, besides the original. And actually, shockingly enough, Criterion got their hands on this, and later this year, there's gonna be a Criterion Godzilla vs. Biollante 4K, which is just crazy to me. Like, that is a dream come true in my opinion. But then we have the other Heiseis, you know, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, Godzilla vs. Mothra. And yeah, for anybody that's counting the movies, remember that the Criterion set has 15 movies in there. And then, yes, so we have Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 and Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Now, here's another OCD sort of problem. So the next one, 2-pack, has Godzilla vs. Destroya and Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. But if you are a Godzilla fan, you know that Godzilla 2000 came out in between these movies. So when you put it on the shelf, you're actually skipping a movie. You're putting one movie ahead of the other that shouldn't be there. And I know that some people have custom cases to fix this issue too. I might have to look into that. I'm not even kidding. Then we got, you know, Godzilla GMK, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Then we got Godzilla Tokyo SOS, Godzilla Final Wars. So that's it for like the original, you know, Japanese movies before they rebooted. With Shin Godzilla in 2016, one of my all-time favorite Godzilla movies. I think this movie is badass. As well as Godzilla -1 that just came out recently. Got this one on 4K. Good stuff. And then I put the Japanese Godzilla movies first, and I put the American Godzilla movies second. So now we start with the American movies. So I have the TriStar Godzilla from the 90s. Listen, you gotta, as a completionist, you gotta have it, right? It's not that bad. Then we got Godzilla 2014. Then Godzilla King of the Monsters. Then, of course, Godzilla vs. Kong. And finally, the most recent, Godzilla Kong New Empire on 4K. After that, we got David Fincher's Gone Girl. Really good movie. Then, of course, you gotta have Goodfellas, one of the essential crime movies of all time. Grand Budapest Hotel. I think this movie is really funny. I don't know how many people have seen it, but I saw this in the theaters. And me and the girl I went with, I think we were the only people in the theater that realized it was a comedy because nobody else was laughing. But I think this movie is fucking hilarious. I laughed at almost every single moment in this movie. And like, maybe they were being respectful. They were like the artsy crowd. I don't know. But I don't know. I was laughing. A movie called The Green Knight, which I have on 4K. Very visually stunning movie. A movie called Green Room. Good little horror film there. Then this is a weird collection, but I put it in GR for Gremlins because these are the two movies I care about the most, Gremlins and Gremlins 2. But it also does come with the Goonies. I got nothing against the Goonies. I just like Gremlins more. There's that. Then there is Grindhouse. So this is the double feature Planet Terror and Death Proof put out by Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. This is how it originally came out theatrically. I know they did release the movies individually, like the longer cuts, but the original release of the movies was together in Grindhouse. So this is the way that you can watch it that way, as well as watch all the fake movie trailers and stuff that they put along with it. Then I have the first Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the only one I really care about, but I like that one. I like the first one. Then I got this 35th anniversary edition of Halloween, which is pretty cool. Once again, it's one of those little like digibook things. Original John Carpenter's Halloween. But then alongside that, I also have the Halloween It says complete collection, but there's been Halloween movies since this has come out. How many times has that happened where there's been like the complete collection and then they make a new movie and it's no longer complete? But this is all the Halloween movies up to the Blumhouse movies. So this is Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween 6, Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection, the Rob Zombie Halloween movie, and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So those are all in here. And then separately, I had to buy the Blumhouse trilogy. So that's Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. Crazy. 13 Halloween movies, man. I think that is the longest running slasher franchise. I'm pretty sure. All right, we've made it to row number 3. Let's go. Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. We're in the middle of January. It's really cold outside. This movie will give you that vibe. So if you need a movie to watch in the snowstorm. Heat. Great action film. Picked that up for like $4 once. I was like, what? I have the original Hellraiser once again on Blu-ray, just the first movie. Then I have the movie called Hereditary, which I've talked about this movie a lot. This is one of the few more modern horror movies that actually scared the shit out of me. It's been a while, so that's why I appreciate this so much. Some people say they don't like it. They say it's overrated, but for me, hey, what can I say? It worked. I loved Hereditary. Then I have this 2-pack of Hostel and Hostel Part 2. I don't really like Hostel Part 2, but I picked it up because it was cheap and it gave me the first movie, so there's that. Then you got Hot Fuzz, Edgar Wright, classic, great stuff. Punch that shit! Then a 2-pack that I include House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. Devil's Rejects I love a lot more. It's actually, I think I would call it my second favorite horror movie of all time after Evil Dead. I know, crazy, wild, but I do love it that much. But Three from Hell, I didn't really care for it. Then we got House of the Devil, really great film. A lot of people know Ty West now from his X trilogy that he did, X, Pearl, and Maxine. But before that, he did a few other horror movies that I think are underrated, and House of the Devil is definitely one of them. This movie called Immortals. This is Henry Cavill before he was Superman, basically in this sort of Greek god era, and yeah, that's sort of... It's sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's sort of like 300, but a little bit different. It came out in that era. In the Mouth of Madness, really good John Carpenter horror film, underrated as hell. I have a lot of fun with this one. Essentially, this horror writer's books are all sort of becoming real, or at least this character that's looking for the author, stumbles upon this town and like all of these events are actually happening. So really good movie. Then we have, of course, Inception. I love Inception, man. I think it might still be my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. It just is one of those films that when it came out, I remember I was trying to lucid dream for like months and months afterwards. Like I would look up online every single technique I could find to try to lucid dream because I wanted to control my dreams. But I just couldn't do it, man. I just couldn't do it like Leo does. But I can't do anything like Leo does. So it is what it is. Then I got Independence Day, classic 90s film. Then we got Inglourious Bastards, my personal favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. Inside Out. I don't have a lot of, kids movies or Pixar movies, but this is one I picked up when it came out just because I really, really loved this movie when it first came out. I have not seen the second one yet. Interstellar. A lot of people would say this is their favorite Christopher Nolan movie. I love it a lot, but I still like Inception a little bit more. I don't know why I have this one, The Interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco. Man, that friendship really dissipated, didn't it? But I can't lie. I like a lot of their movies. Then I have both It and It Chapter 2. I do really enjoy the new It movies. I think that Bill Skarsgård did an amazing job, and particularly the first one. The second one, I felt like relied a little bit too heavy on CGI, but the truth is, there's no way you can do the ending to It well in live action. It's one of those things that works fantastically in a book, in like a fantasy novel, but when you try to adapt it into live action, it doesn't matter if it's the 90s version or the new version, the ending of It just doesn't translate to live action. So I don't hold that part against it as much, but part one is still way better. Then I have It Follows, which has nothing to do with Pennywise It, but has a lot to do with sex. Wear protection. Although I don't think that would help you in this case. Jackie Brown, another Tarantino movie, great stuff. Of course, another one of the best movies ever made. Jaws, just absolute. What can you say about Jaws that hasn't already been said? Like, literally, like, perfection. You know what I mean? Like, there's never going to be another movie like Jaws, although there's been thousands of shark movies that I've tried. Then of course I have my boy Keanu, the John Wick franchise, John Wick 2, John Wick 3, and John Wick 4 on 4K. I have the Jurassic Park trilogy collection, the first 3 movies. The original Jurassic Park is, again, one of my favorite movies ever made. If you're asking like personal favorites, so Jaws, I'd say, is like one of the best movies ever, right? But if you're asking my personal favorite, I really do think Jurassic Park is my favorite Spielberg movie. I don't know what that says about me, but it is. And then I do have Jurassic World, the first one, because when it came out, I liked it, but the other 2 Jurassic World movies were so bad that I haven't gone back and rewatched this one because it's left a sour taste in my mouth. I don't know. I might have to revisit it someday. I have Kick-Ass and Kick-Ass 2, which I think are both great. Then I have Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2, also great. The original 1933 King Kong. Gotta have it. I know there's better editions of it out there, but I just needed a copy, so I grabbed the one that I could find. Now we have some King Kong movies, okay? And we have King Kong Escapes, which is the Japanese Toho kaiju movie that takes the King Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong, King Kong vs. Godzilla, the original from the 60s, and gives him his own movie. But what I find so fascinating about this is that his main enemy is this robot called Mechanicong. And this predates Mechagodzilla. So yeah, my favorite fun fact is that there was a Mecha King Kong before there was a Mechagodzilla. This is true. I don't have the 70s King Kong movies because they're really hard to find, but I do have Peter Jackson's 2005 King Kong movie. Great stuff. Maybe a bit overly long, but still a masterpiece in itself. And then of course, Kong Skull Island. And I do keep this with the Kong movies and not with the other MonsterVerse movies, simply because that's kind of how it was in the Toho days. Like, I'm not gonna put King Kong Escapes up with the other Godzilla movies because it's technically in the same universe. I feel the same way with Kong Skull Island. Like, it's a King Kong movie, it's not a Godzilla movie, so I'm gonna keep it with the Kong movies and not the Godzilla movies. That makes sense? I don't know. Then I have a movie called Knock Knock. This movie frustrates the fuck out of me, but Ana de Armas is naked for most of it, so I guess it's alright. Then I have a movie called Labyrinth. Labyrinth, man. This is a fantastic 80s fantasy movie. Labyrinth is a classic for a reason. Another little digibook there, comes with all that. And I'm saying, man, Labyrinth is a date night movie, okay? I'm just saying, if you are a dude, this is some dating advice for you guys out there. If you're a guy and you have a copy of Labyrinth, dude, I've never met a girl that knows what Labyrinth is that doesn't love it, okay? Labyrinth is like the ultimate chick flick, but it's also a movie that I love as well. So, you know, this is a date night movie, I'm telling you. If you have Labyrinth, you're golden, bro, I'm telling you. But it helps if you actually love the movie too. Then I have Legend, another great fantasy film from Ridley Scott, a little bit darker. It's got Tim Curry as the devil, great stuff. Then we have Let Me In, vampire movie, good stuff. Long Legs, I think I wore my long legs today. It's the birthday girl. I'm sorry. Lords of Salem, another Rob Zombie horror movie that I like. I'm sorry, look, okay, I like some of his movies, all right? It is what it is. I have the Mad Max trilogy, the original Mad Max films, so Mad Max 1, Road Warrior, and Beyond Thunderdome. And then, of course, I have one of the greatest action films ever made, Mad Max Fury Road. Jesus Christ, this movie is metal as fuck. I love it. I have not picked up Furiosa yet, but I will at some point. Magnolia, this is a good drama film just about people interacting day-to-day lives. Like I said earlier, you know, sometimes you need a movie that's just about regular people. But this is a movie that hit me pretty hard. It's in my top 10 favorite films, and but it's not for everybody. It's 3 hours long. And it's just a movie about people's lives interacting with one another, but it's really good stuff. Then I got Mallrats, Kevin Smith, great stuff. This is such a 90s movie, man. Like, this movie makes me feel good. It just takes me back to a better time, you know? Then I got the Zack Snyder Man of Steel Superman movie. I like this movie a lot. I don't care what anyone says, all right? Again, it's one of those situations where, like, it's not a masterpiece, but there's so many good things in this movie that I think far outweigh the bad. I really love Man of Steel. I don't care what anyone says. Its sequels, though, Batman v Superman, I think is just okay. I like it, but it's okay. But I think Justice League, I also like it a lot. I just wish it wasn't 4 hours long, but I do have the 4K of Zack Snyder's Justice League as well. Then I have amazing movie, Mars Attacks. I'm so glad they finally released this on Blu-ray. One of my favorite Tim Burton's. I love The Martians so much just because they're such little assholes. Like, they're just total dicks. And that's the whole point. Then I have the Steelbook copy of The Matrix, and I just think this is one of the coolest looking Steelbook covers ever. It's one of the humans and like the little pods as they siphon them for energy. There's just something about this that makes it look so bleak and mysterious. Then I have The Men That Stare at Goats, really good comedy about during the Vietnam War, trying to come up with people that are using psychic and mental powers in the military. Good stuff. Another movie called Moonrise Kingdom, which I think is a cute little fun movie. Then we have, of course, the Mummy trilogy with Brendan Fraser. The Mummy, Mummy Returns, and Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Great classic 90s action movie stuff. Man, how I wish they would make another Mummy movie. I know that they're making a Mummy movie, but I mean with Brendan Fraser, you know. Natural Born Killers, I think is pretty good. Neon Demon. This is a movie that I was saying the substance reminded me a lot of this movie, just in the way that it's filmed and the subject matter that it tackles. One of those Nicholas Winding Refn, same director as Drive. But I really like this one too. This is another one of those films that came out and a lot of people didn't care for it, but I don't know, I was captivated by it. I really like it, and I think that it's got a very dark message to it, you know, kind of like a cautionary tale. A movie called The Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling, I think is pretty funny. This is the Criterion Collection of the original Night of the Living Dead on 4K. This is the best this movie has ever looked. This is a public domain movie, so there's no shortage of ways to pick it up. But if you buy any version of this movie, the Criterion 4K is the best version of Night of the Living Dead. Then, of course, I have a Blu-ray copy of Nightmare on Elm Street, but along with that, I have the Blu-ray collection of Nightmare on Elm Street with all 7 films. Nightmare 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, New Nightmare, and that's it. It doesn't come with the remake, and it doesn't come with Freddy vs. Jason, but thankfully, I already have that up here. And I don't want the remake, because it sucks. No Country for Old Men. We have The Northman. Then we have probably the oldest, yeah, this is the oldest movie in my collection, the original silent film Nosferatu. So, then I have Nymphomaniac Part 1 and Part 2. This is such a fucked up movie, you guys. Like, this is again, dark, bleak, not for the faint of heart. It's not an it's called Nymphomaniac, but it's not what you think it is. Old Boy, one of my favorite films of all time. Holy shit, I love this movie. This movie affected me deeply when I first saw it. It is immaculately filmed, great story of revenge, great drama, great performances. I can't say enough good things about this movie. Old Boy is absolutely one to check out, but make sure you watch the original Korean version. Do not watch the remake. Watch this version. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, got that as well. Only God Forgives, another Nicholas Winding Refn movie with my boy. I have a Steelbook copy of Oppenheimer, which is pretty cool. Also the 4K. Pacific Rim, good kaiju movie. But the better Del Toro movie I have is Pan's Labyrinth. Absolutely masterful fantasy film. Well, not really as much fantasy, but yeah. Place Beyond the Pines, good Ryan Gosling movie. So much Ryan Gosling movies. I have the original Planet of the Apes from the 60s. And then, of course, I love these films. I have the Caesar trilogy, so I have Rise and Dawn on a 2-pack, and then I have War for the Planet of the Apes. I really adore these movies. I think these are great. And even that newest one that came out, it's not as good as these three, but I still think they're doing a pretty good job with them. Okay, so now we're a little bit more on the bottom half of the display case, so I'm changing the angle here, and I'm on my knees for you guys. But anyways, let's continue, right? Let's get right going. We got Poltergeist, Tobe Hooper horror film, great stuff. Then we got Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. This is a film from Troma, and if you don't know Troma Studios, you need to get on that. And it is one of the most absurd, offensive, gory films you will ever see in your life. It's a masterpiece. Then, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, The Predator. Gotta have it. Moving over to Psycho. maybe perhaps the original slasher film, if you want to consider it that. We have Pulp Fiction, Tarantino's masterpiece. We got Pumpkinhead, really good horror film with a lot of great animatronic effects, good 80s special effects there. I have the original Quiet Place. Then I got The Raid and The Raid 2, great action films. Reanimator. One of these days I'm going to talk about Reanimator because this is a horror film that I think is one of the best and one of the funniest like horror films of the 80s. And dude, there's so many moments in this movie that I just adore. So one of these days I got to talk about it. This is a musical called Repo, the Genetic Opera. It's about people that get these plastic surgeries done and these organs implanted, but if they can't afford them, they send a repo man to basically rip the organs out of your body and take them back. But it's also a musical. So there's that. Requiem for a Dream. This is a movie I want to show everybody who is entering middle school that has never done drugs to hopefully have them never do drugs. The best, instead of DARE, you know how they do DARE in school, whatever? Yeah, that never works. What they need to do is strap those kids down, Clockwork Orange style, and force them to watch Requiem for a Dream. And maybe that will guarantee they'll never do drugs. I don't know. Reservoir Dogs, Quentin Tarantino's first movie. Then I have Return of the Living Dead, great zombie film. Another trauma movie, I have Return to Nukem High Volume 1. There is a Volume 2, I just never got around to buying it. All the trauma films I have, I pretty much bought at Comic-Cons with their booths. So once I see Volume 2, I'll pick that up. Then I have The Revenant. This is a film that, again, I appreciate a lot. It is one of my favorites, a story about survival. I love stories about like the indomitable will of the human spirit and needing to survive and just the brutality that it takes to survive. And this is one of those films that I think captures that wonderfully. Then I have the Rocky collection. This is Rocky 1 through 6, some of the most motivating movies you will ever watch, particularly the first one. I even like Rocky 5. I know a lot of people don't. I like it a lot. If I rank these, it'd be the original, Balboa 4, 2, 5, 3 for me. Yeah, I know, right? I know. Hot take. With the Rocky universe, I keep these with it because Creed is kind of like a Rocky movie in itself, and same thing with Creed 2. I don't have Creed 3. It's the only movie without Rocky himself. I didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty good, actually, but I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't feel right without Rocky, you know what I mean? Then I have Salem's Lot. This is actually the TV movie miniseries, but I'll put it with the movies. Then I have Scream on 4K from the collector's set. The original Scream, Scream 2, and Scream 3. And then it also comes with all 3 movies on Blu-ray there. And then I also have Scream 4. So I have all the Wes Craven Screams. I haven't picked up 5 or 6 yet. Next one here is Seven Samurai, the Criterion set. Now, if you're asking me objectively, like my personal favorite, aside for whatever personal reasons I get attached to movies, if you were to ask me what I think is the best movie ever made, it is, without question in my mind, Seven Samurai. I think this is a flawless movie. There is nothing wrong with this on any technical level. I think that all the performances are incredible. The action sequences, this was made in the 50s. It is a black and white film. Get over it. You know what I mean? And all of the action sequences were done with real people, you know, no CGI. All the stunt work on horses is real. But it also is, you know, a very tragic story. It's got, you know, humor in it. It's got action. It's got love stories. It's got big war sequences. It has a lot to say about the time period. There's just nothing wrong with this movie. Everything about it is perfect. And it again is maybe like The Godfather, like one of those movies that you watch that after you watch it, you realize how many other movies and shows have taken from this. And it all starts with this, man. So Seven Samurai, if you've never seen it, I think is a masterpiece. I think it is the best movie ever made. But then we go into comedy with Shaun of the Dead, one of my all-time favorites. Love Shaun of the Dead, man. Then I have the Steelbook of Shawshank Redemption, another great film. Then I have Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Then we're going to Shutter Island with Leonardo DiCaprio. Another movie I really like that, you know, just, it's not considered one of Scorsese's best, and maybe it's not, but it's still really damn good. Have the original Sin City. Robert Rodriguez. I was obsessed with this movie when it came out. It came out at the perfect time for me. I was like 15, and I love the comics, and I thought the movie was a great adaptation. A movie called Snowpiercer. Takes place all on this giant moving train where like the last survivors of humanity are separated in this class system, and there's an uprising trying to get to the head of the train. Pretty good movie. I have the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. So Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, and 3. Spider-Man 2 would probably be my favorite of the trilogy and still my favorite Spider-Man movie that they've ever made. A movie called Split, M. Night Shyamalan. This is technically a miniseries as well. This is Stephen King's The Stand, based on his novel. I actually just picked this up not too long ago. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but I loved this miniseries. Like, I used to have a DVD copy of it. I don't know whatever happened to it, but it's basically, you know, the last human survivors after the apocalypse, and it's got like a lot of biblical, you know, heaven versus hell kind of stuff going on. Really good stuff. This is another movie that's very important to me. Not in my top 10, but it probably would be in my top 20, which is Stand By Me. A really important movie about friendship and being a kid and going on adventures. And, you know, it's a fun movie, but it also has a lot of darkness to it with what's going on in the kids' lives and stuff. And it, you know, there's a line at the end of the movie that's like, you never have friends like the friends you had when you were 12. And I feel like there's something about that that's so true, you know, because it's just life changes and becomes different. And there's something about that special era between like when you're a kid to becoming a teenager, like, I don't know, something between the ages of like 10 to 14, which is this really special, small piece of time that you only get once. And, you know, it's like you're discovering yourself, you're becoming somebody, you know, it's, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I love about it. Okay, so I have learned that the battery for this camera lasts about 2.5 hours. Good information. But we still have a lot more to go. So if there's an angle change here, that was the reason why I needed to charge the battery for about an hour. And now it says I have, it doesn't say how many hours of battery life I have. That's an issue. And now, my friends, we shall continue. Next up are the Star Wars movies that I own. I have the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, and these are the only Star Wars movies that I care to own. I am not a fan of any of the extended stuff, even though there are some things that are okay. I just don't care. I just don't care about Star Wars beyond the original trilogy and the prequels, but I will share with you very briefly a memory of mine. One of my all-time favorite core memories is seeing Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, in theaters. It was way back when they did midnight showings. I was like 10 years old, and I remember specifically too that it was on a school night, so this was a big deal that I got to go to a midnight movie on a school night. And I will tell you, man, perhaps my memory is exaggerated because I was a 10-year-old, but in my mind, I remember this being the best movie-going experience I've ever had. Despite the quality of the movie, the way that people were into it, the way that people were laughing and cheering and screaming, the hype around it, how everybody was stoked out of their goddamn minds. Plus, if anybody remembers 1999 and the marketing for that movie, the build-up was insane. But seeing that movie at midnight, a brand new Star Wars film where at the time all we had was the original trilogy, it was such a huge moment. And despite, you know, how I feel about the quality of Star Wars Episode 1 as an adult, I'll never forget that memory. And for that movie, oddly enough, holds a very, very special place in my heart for being the best movie theater experience I ever had. But then we separate the men from the boys, because with Star Wars behind us, now we have Starship Troopers. Honestly, the special effects in this movie hold up to this day. Denise Richards, bro, I'm telling you, man, one of the best. One of the best. I probably said that 1,000 times during this entire video, but Starship Troopers, man, that is a movie. I do have Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch. I know a lot of people hate it. I think it's pretty cool. Whatever, I don't care. I don't know why I own this movie. This is the Suicide Squad. Not the Suicide Squad, just Suicide Squad, the first one, the not good one. I don't know why I own this. I don't know why. I have a movie just called Super. It is a James Gunn film before he got involved with Marvel and all that. Some people forget that James Gunn, before he was like the Marvel guy, DC guy, he was from Troma, right? So he did a lot of explicit, exaggerated adult movies, and Super is one of them. Highly underrated. I definitely recommend it. Then I have quintessential teenager movie, Superbad. Like I said, I am kind of a sucker for that 2000s era Seth Rogen, you know, James Franco movie team up creations, and Superbad is one of those that just works for me. I just it's a classic comedy in my opinion. Then I have this collection of Superman movies. It's just the original Christopher Reeve Superman, Superman 2, the Donner cut, and it came with Superman Returns, which I don't really care for, but it's in the collector's set. Then I have Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese's masterpiece, in my opinion. Again, I think one of the best movies ever made, objectively. Comes with all these photos. I feel like maybe I should put these on the wall. I don't know why. Just pretend that they're my friends. Like, oh yeah, that's just my friend the pimp, Harvey Keitel. What's going on? Then I got the Ninja Turtles trilogy from the 90s. The 90s Ninja Turtles movies, the best ones. We can forget about the third one. But Ninja Turtles 1 and 2, classics. And I still, like, I don't care, bias, whatever you want to call it. I still think the first Ninja Turtles movie from the 90s is not only the best Ninja Turtles movie, but still in my top 10 comic book movies ever made. Just saying. Then I have another movie that means a lot to me. It is Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. This movie, again, holds a very special place in my heart for a specific reason. The night before I was going to graduate from high school, like when you actually walk out, get the diploma, do the graduation, the night before, I randomly rented this movie. And I knew who Tenacious D were because of that one album that they had that was popular with, you know, tribute on it and everything, but I wasn't necessarily like a huge Jack Black fan or anything like that. I just thought, okay, Tenacious D made a movie, let me check this out. And I had such a good time watching this, and it always reminds me of that era of my life. Like, this is another reason why movies are important and subjective, because every movie can mean something different to everybody. Because whenever I watch this, I'm reminded of summertime. I'm reminded of that feeling of freedom when it came to graduating. I love the music in it. I think it's hilarious, the like rock battle with the devil and everything at the end, the sort of road trip vibe of it, the buddy comedy aspect. So I do love the movie itself, but there's also like a feeling and a mood that this movie gives me that reminds me of the summer of when I graduated high school. And so it's forever special to me for that reason. Then we got the only two that matter, the Terminator. The Terminator, first one, and Terminator 2, Judgment Day. I'm gonna say it again, one of the best movies ever made. The other Terminator movies I do not care to own. I don't hate 3, and I don't hate Salvation, but I do hate the other two. Then of course we have the current top slasher, Art the Clown, with Terrifier. I have Terrifier 2 4K, and I just got the Terrifier 3 4K Steelbook. Very, very awesome shit there. So got the Terrifier trilogy so far, but then we're going into classic horror, and I have the 4K of Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What can you say about this movie that hasn't already been said, man? This is the horror movie. You know what I mean? Like, this is like, if you've never seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and you're a horror fan, you are doing yourself a massive disservice. There is a feeling about this movie, the gritty, disgusting nature of how it was filmed, absolutely incredible. The only other Texas Chainsaw movie that I own is the 2003 remake, which I also think is very good, especially for the time period it came out. I do think it's one of the better remakes. It's not as good as the first movie, but still pretty damn good. It has a very good Leatherface. There Will Be Blood, Daniel Day-Lewis, just immaculate performance in this movie. I would go so far as to say is maybe the best performance in a movie like ever. Top 5, at least, top 5. I don't know if I'll commit to saying ever, but Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood, definitely top 5 performances of all time. Then I got some John Carpenter here. We got They Live, Alien Invasion, a movie that nowadays is ever more relevant than it ever has been. And then, of course, what most people would say is John Carpenter's masterpiece, I have The Thing. And this is a remake that is better than the original, although the original is good, and I would buy it if I found it. But got The Thing there. Then, again, another Seth Rogen, James Franco movie, This Is the End. Of all of their films, I do think this one is the best, and it's sort of like this culmination of, you know, all the actors together playing themselves during the apocalypse. Really, really funny movie. This next one, I will hear no hate for because this is a brilliant film, Titanic, James Cameron's Titanic. I love this movie. I think it gets a bad rap sometimes for being that, like, you know, romance movie, and everybody always talks about Jack and the Door. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you guys something about this movie. I can tell that most people have never actually watched this movie. You know why? Because in the movie, when they're on the door, Jack tries to get on the door. But when he gets on it, the combined weight of Jack and Rose causes the door to sink. The reason he stays off the door is not about how much room there is, it's about the fact that the door cannot take their combined weight. So the point of the movie is that Jack self-sacrifices himself so that Rose can live. It's fucking romantic, it's honorable, and people get all caught up about the door shit, but if you actually watch the movie, you'll see he tries to get on the door, and when he does, they both can't stay on the door because it's gonna sink, so he gets off as a self-sacrifice. Anyways, the special effects in this movie are great too. Anyways, fuck anybody that doesn't like Titanic. I'm just kidding. I mean, fine, you can have your opinion, but Titanic is great. Then I have The Toxic Avenger. This is sort of the spokesman of the Trauma movies. Also signed to me when I met Lloyd Kaufman. He signed it to Raunchy Ryan, so I appreciate that. I also have Toxic Avenger 4. There are 4 Toxic Avenger movies. I have 1 and 4. Like I said, I usually pick up the Trauma movies when I see their booths at Comic-Con, so if I ever get the chance, I'll pick up 2 and 3, but I have 1 and 4. Then I have Train to Busan, which I think is the best modern zombie movie, and certainly the best of the fast-running zombies. Yeah, I like this even more than 28 Days Later, even more than the Dawn of the Dead remake. I think Train to Busan is like the essential zombie film of that style, of that genre. Have the movie Trick or Treat. Then I have Troll 2, and if you guys know about Troll 2, well, yeah, then you probably have good taste. That's all I'll say. I have True Romance, one of my favorite films, on a 4K Steelbook released by Arrow. This is a really good edition. I was waiting for this because I had the DVD, but they didn't have a good Blu-ray version until this 4K came out, so definitely worth it. One of my all-time, this is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time as well. I love True Romance. Then I have the Underworld collection, and I'll be honest, I actually haven't watched all of these. I've seen the original, I've seen the second one. I don't think I've ever seen Rise of the Lycans, and I know I saw one of the other two, but it was only when it came out in theaters, and I don't really remember it. So this is a series I need to go back and rewatch. But Kate Beckinsale, I mean, come on. Who doesn't have a crush on Kate Beckinsale as a vampire, man? Insane. VHS 2, again, sometimes I have sequels to movies. I don't have the originals, and yes, it does bother me, but the VHS movies, they're hit or miss, but I think 2 is the best one. Then I have Zack Snyder's Watchmen, which I also think is great, and I don't care what people have to say about it. I love it. Then I have Whiplash, really, really good movie. J.K. Simmons given probably the best performance he's ever gave. And then I have Robert Eggers' first horror movie, The Witch. Okay, the true bottom half of the shelf, and actually a little bit more insight into how I organize. So we are about to reach the end of the Blu-rays, and then after the Blu-rays, I start DVDs, which also go in alphabetical order. But then after the DVDs, I have TV shows, and TV shows I kind of mix together. I feel like just because I don't have enough of them to separate Blu-ray and DVD, so I just throw all the TV shows in together. And then after TV shows, we get into anime. So that's going to be the order. So finishing up the Blu-rays, I have Wolf of Wall Street. Come on, man. This is a fun movie. This is great. I do have Wonder Woman, the original. I still think this movie is pretty damn good. I think because of the reputation of those DC movies and also the second Wonder Woman being absolutely atrociously bad, people forget the first one was actually pretty legit. I like the first one a lot. Then I have The World's End, the last of the Cornetto trilogy that you've seen. I have Ty West X. I don't have Pearl and Maxine yet, but I will pick them up eventually. But X is actually my favorite of the trilogy. And then I have the X-Men movies. Let's just pull all of these out, and I'll just talk about them all at once. I'll never forget seeing the original X-Men in theaters when I was a kid. First X-Men is great. X-Men 2, I still think is the best of the bunch, especially that opening sequence with Nightcrawler. Really good stuff. X-Men 3, I remember being so disappointed in this movie when I saw it in theaters, just compared to the first two. I've since kind of gotten over that. I think it's okay, but compared to the first two, it's no good. Then we came back with First Class, got the Steelbook here, which is great. My second favorite of the X-Men movies, which is Days of Future Past. I think this one is really, really good. Then we got X-Men Apocalypse, which is not good, but it does have that Quicksilver scene, which is cool. Then we have The Wolverine, which is okay. I don't have Origins because I really hate that movie, but if you count this, which I do, so I should have said this is actually my favorite, Logan is the best X-Men movie, by far. Not even close. Not even fucking close. It's in a different realm. It's in a different universe. This movie kicks ass. Then I have two more Blu-rays. I have Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Good movie. And I have David Fincher's Zodiac. Great film. Great film. If you've never seen Zodiac, if you like crime dramas or serial killer stuff, Zodiac, my man. And that's it of the movie Blu-rays. So now we're moving into movie DVD, starting back over at the beginning. So I got 310 to Yuma, pretty good Western. Also with some of these DVDs that we'll get to, some of them were actually my dad's. I inherited them after he passed away. So there's a few that I haven't seen that I need to get to. But anyways, we have Disney's Aladdin, my favorite Disney movie. Then we have Babel, which is pretty good. It's an early Alexandro Inarritu, the guy that made The Revenant, one of his early films. Then we have the Back to the Future trilogy. Great stuff, man. Forever iconic. Back to the Future is fantastic. Another one of my favorites. I'd like to get this on Blu-ray or 4K. Boogie Nights. It's a movie about a guy with a giant cock that makes porn in the 70s. But this movie gets way darker and way more tragic than you would ever imagine from that shitty synopsis. Eli Roth's Cabin Fever. I love it. Pancakes! It's great to me. Here we have the original Clerks, which is probably my favorite Kevin Smith movie still to this day, just because I worked so many years in retail that there are things that happen in the Clerks movie that just are so perfectly presented as what it's like dealing with people working retail. But then Clerks 2 is also a fantastic film. So I do have all the Clerks. I just have 1 and 2 on DVD. This one was one of my dad's. It's Cowboys versus Aliens. My dad loved Westerns, but this was like a sci-fi Western mashup, and he always wanted me to watch this, and I still haven't, and I feel really bad. I'm so sorry, Dad. One of these nights, I'm going to watch this for you. We have George Romero's Creepshow. Good stuff. Then we have a movie called Dead Alive. Now, some of you may be questioning, Ryan, why don't you have the Lord of the Rings movies? Nothing against them. It's just one of those I haven't picked up yet. There is a 4K set of the trilogy that I have my eye on. It's on my Amazon wish list. At some point I will. Right now I can watch them on HBO Max, but I do want to own them. But if you ask me what I think is my favorite Peter Jackson movie, it is Dead Alive. This is one of the most balls to the wall, batshit, insane, bloody movies. It's a zombie movie, kind of. I don't know. Oh my God, if you've only seen Lord of the Rings and you've never seen Peter Jackson's early work, watch Dead Alive and get back to me. Then I have Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof, which is part of Grindhouse, but in the individual releases, it's a longer cut, so this has scenes that are not in Grindhouse. So this is more of like its own, stands on its own. Then I got Kevin Smith's Dogma, which is really good. This is a pretty good edition of it as well.
Then I have a comedy that I've loved ever since I was a little kid, Dumb and Dumber. This is the unrated version that adds some scenes. I mean, the added scenes like aren't that great, but it's still a classic. Then we have my personal favorite Tim Burton movie, which is Ed Wood. It is technically a biopic based upon a real guy named Ed Wood, who was a filmmaker that's notorious for making some of the worst films ever, including Plan 9 from Outer Space. And he also loved to wear women's underwear, which I hear is comfortable. I don't know. Then I have the Mariachi trilogy. Robert Rodriguez, El Mariachi. Again for like first-time filmmakers, his first movie, El Mariachi, famously is an action movie shot for $7,000, and it's incredible what he was able to make with this. Very, very inspiring for making movies. But then once that did well, he did an upgraded Hollywood version of a sequel called Desperado with Antonio Banderas. Amazing 90s action movie. And then he concluded it in the early 2000s with Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Also great action movie. Then I have a DVD version of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. This comes with some extra shit. There's a booklet in here and stuff. Whenever you get a little booklet with something, you know, that's pretty cool. So, you know, I couldn't get rid of it, even though I upgraded to the Blu-ray version, because this version is very cool. This next one is called Expect to Die. And probably nobody has seen this, and if my buddy Vogie is watching this, he knows. This is a movie I bought for $1 at the Rite Aid dollar bin a long time ago. It is a ripoff of a virtual reality Matrix type movie. It is so bad, but we have so much fun with it. This is like an inside joke kind of movie. This is one of those movies that like is so horrendously bad, and just a movie that you only find in those dollar bins. But man, even though I only spent $1 on this, it was worth every penny, my friend. Next up is another underrated movie called The Faculty, one of my absolute favorite 90s horror thrillers. They are releasing a 4K of this very soon, so I will be getting that. Then we got, of course, The Fifth Element. Great stuff. Then we have, these were my dad's, but I have seen these. These were his favorite movies. This is the Dollars trilogy with Clint Eastwood. So you have Fistful of Dollars, Few Dollars More, and then of course Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I would like to get a Blu-ray or 4K version of this movie, but it's good to own it, and this was my dad's favorite movie, so it means a lot to me for that reason. It's a great film, but the reason I love it also is just because it was my dad's favorite. Silly Chuck Norris movie called Forest Warrior. In this movie, he can turn into animals. Anyways, then we got Forgetting Sarah Marshall, pretty funny movie. Movie called Four Rooms, which is pretty funny. Each segment, there's 4 segments of the movie, each directed by somebody different. Tarantino directs the final segment, which I think is the best. Underappreciated and kind of forgotten movie. I do have a copy of Friday the 13th on DVD, as well as Freddy vs. Jason. Then I got From Dusk Till Dawn, another great Robert Rodriguez movie. Then I have the Showa Gamera collection here. This is a shitty, you know, like DVD version. I think it's all the edited versions. But anyways, it's got Gamera, the first Gamera, second. They all have different titles, so I can't give you the actual titles. But it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first 6 of the original, I think 8. There's 8 Showa films. This gives you the first 6. I don't know. Then another shitty movie called Hard Rock Zombies. It's about an 80s rock band that gets turned into zombies. Also, Adolf Hitler shows up. Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. Really sad movie called He Was a Quiet Man. Christian Slater just plays this kind of melancholy guy that's thinking about shooting up his office. It's a really dark movie, but pretty sad. Then we got Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. Then we got Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror, because you need to have that. Ichi the Killer, an incredibly bizarre, violent Japanese film from the early 2000s. I highly recommend it, but only if you are really into like the wacky, fucked up kind of stuff. Then we have the original 90s It, continuing with Kevin Smith. You could tell that like I was a huge Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Smith fan before the advent of Blu-ray, because I have most of their movies on DVD. But yes, Jane Silent Bob Strike Back. And then of course the classic family film Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Gotta have it. Wes Craven's first film, Last House on the Left. I love this movie. It's similar to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. It's just a gritty, dark, brutal movie from the 70s. I have this collection set of the first 4 Leprechaun films, and if you're a fan of the Leprechaun films, stay tuned, because I do have videos coming. Another family film I like a lot called Little Miss Sunshine. I say family film. There's tons of swearing and adult themes in this movie, but I consider it to be a family movie. Another absolutely batshit insane Japanese movie called Machine Girl. High school girl gets tangled up with the Yakuza, replaces her arm with a machine gun, and goes on a vengeance mission. Pretty good. One of the most fucked up movies I've ever seen in my life, Martyrs. This is a brutal movie. There's no levity in this film whatsoever. This is just purely just mean-spirited, dark, macabre, like no light at the end of the tunnel, anything. This movie is hard to get through, but a good one. I have the Metallica, some kind of monster documentary. I liked Metallica a lot when I was in high school. Of course, the Power Rangers movie, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and the sequel, Power Rangers Turbo. You know the weird thing is that I always, this is a fun fact that if you don't like Power Rangers, you might not know, is that this first Power Rangers movie was super popular, super famous, just Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. This is not canon to the TV show. Okay, it's not. It does not match up because all the powers and stuff, the upgrades they get in this movie, they get the same powers and upgrades in the show, but in a different way. So it's not canon. However, the second Power Rangers movie, Power Rangers Turbo, that nobody liked, bombed at the box office, nobody saw, this is canon to the series. And you need to watch the movie before you watch the Turbo series to understand it. So it's bizarre that like the famous Power Rangers movie is the non-canon one. Anyways, besides all that, I got fucking Mortal Kombat. All right, I didn't charge my battery long enough. It's already kind of going down, so I'm gonna see if I can at least finish the movies before we get into the TV shows. So we're gonna speed run this. I got Muppet Treasure Island, great stuff. Then I got Neverending Story, part 1 and 2. I love the original. I don't really remember the second one too well, but the original I love. Night at the Roxbury. Then I have a DVD copy of Night of the Living Dead. If I can get that out there. DVD of Nightmare Before Christmas. I have a really funny Chuck Norris action movie called The Octagon. If you want to watch a Chuck Norris movie, I recommend this one. Panic Room, which I think is a criminally underrated David Fincher movie. I think it's one of his best. It just doesn't get talked about enough, Panic Room. Trippy movie called Pi, which I haven't seen in a long time. I barely remember anything about it. I just remember it being whacked out of my mind. Then, of course, Pineapple Express. You knew this was coming. Then we have my favorite martial arts movie of all time called The Protector with Tony Jaa. His elephant, you know John Wick, like the dog dies and he goes on a vengeance mission. Well before that, there was a movie where this man's elephant gets stolen and he goes on a vengeance mission to get his elephant back, and he breaks a lot of bones in the process. There's that movie called Punch Drunk Love, which is actually a drama with Adam Sandler that he's actually really good in. I'm not really an Adam Sandler fan, but he's really good in this one. Then we got Queen of the Damned, definitely a guilty pleasure movie for me. Just that early 2000s goth rock, sexy vampires, Aaliyah, you know, was gorgeous. Yeah, just a guilty pleasure movie for me. Another Coen Brothers movie I really like is Raising Arizona. This movie's hilarious. It's got Nicolas Cage. This is when Kevin Smith did a horror movie called Red State. Pretty damn good. This is a movie that I actually have not seen, Rescue Dawn. This was one of my dad's movies. It's got Christian Bale. I kind of want to watch it. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. Of course, Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you know, you know. And of course, again, oh, hi, Mark. Gotta have The Room, man. If you know, you know, once again. This movie called The Sacrament. I think this movie's really underrated. This is another Ty West that did the X trilogy. Similar to House of the Devil. I actually think The Sacrament, this is my favorite Ty West movie, actually, is The Sacrament. Comedy, Saving Silverman. I always thought that was a pretty funny one. I have the original Saw on DVD. And then I have the original Scream trilogy on DVD as well, which the quality of those compared to the 4K is so bad. Secret Window with Johnny Depp, thriller film. We have Serenity, which is actually the movie follow-up to the TV show Firefly. The Firefly only had one season, and then they kind of finished up what they could with a movie, so this is the movie version. I have David Fincher's Seven, along with Zodiac, definitely an essential movie to watch if you like crime dramas and serial killer stuff. Another one of my dad's movies, I don't know what it is, Sharky's Machine with Burt Reynolds. I'll have to watch it sometime. This, I think, is criminally underrated as well. This is A Simple Plan. This is a Sam Raimi movie, so the director that made the Evil Dead films and the Spider-Man films. This is a masterpiece of a film. I love this movie. Not many people know about it. It just got a 4K release. Again, it was one of those movies that was out of print, really hard to find. I do have a DVD copy of it, but they just released a 4K. It's a suspense thriller kind of movie. It's not horror, but it's definitely thriller. But I love this movie. I think the tension that builds in this movie is just unbearable. It's so good. Definitely recommend it. Classic slasher, Sleepaway Camp, Angela, Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton. Love this film. This movie is so much darker than people remember, man. I love this film. And Christina Ricci. Oh, my girl. And then Slither is a good alien invasion movie. We got Snatch. Hilarious. Fucking love this movie. Love Snatch. Spaceballs. Come on. Another one of my dad's movies, Streets of Blood. Val Kilmer and 50 Cent. I don't know what my dad was up to, but I gotta watch that. I have Tenacious D on DVD. I also have the original Texas Chainsaw on DVD. And only a couple more. Something About Mary. Great comedy. Another one of my dad's movies, Three Burials. Total Recall. One of the best Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. And then I have True Romance on DVD. Unbreakable. And then this was also one of my dad's movies, but I love this movie as well. Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. So that is all of my movies. So I'm going to charge the battery again a little bit, and then we're going to get into TV shows, and then DVDs, or sorry, TV shows, and then anime, and then a couple VHS, and we'll be done. All right, shall we continue once again? Let's see how far we get. So now we're getting into TV shows. And like I said, I mixed the DVDs with Blu-rays with TV shows because I don't have a ton. But first up on the chopping block in alphabetical order is Angel, which is the spin-off series of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with the character of Angel, vampire with a soul, searching for redemption. I love the Angel series. These are the big sets of them. They have big versions and small versions. I happen to have the bigger ones there that fold out and everything like that. Pretty cool stuff. 5 seasons of Angel. And I actually really, really love the Angel series. Obviously, I own it, but although I would say I probably prefer Buffy from start to finish, I think the Angel series has particular things in it and particular scenes and episodes that I think are even better than Buffy. But anyways, there's all 5 seasons of Angel. And then after that, we of course have another copy of the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV series, seasons 1, 2, and 3. It is the same Blu-rays that are in the collector set, but I bought these versions first before that collector set, before I got it. So these are the whole series, 3 seasons in total. I really wish we would have had more, but the fact that we got a TV series at all for Evil Dead and that it was actually that good with Bruce Campbell coming back, I mean, I couldn't have asked for more, you know? So continuing with TV shows, I have Better Call Saul, the complete series of Better Call Saul, all 6 seasons. Although I am very happy to have this on Blu-ray, I don't really like the casing. The discs are all stacked on top of each other, and I really, really hate that. I really wish it would have came with like individual season sets instead of just like throwing all the discs on top. Like you can tell, unfortunately, it was made cheaply, but really love Better Call Saul. It definitely grew on me over time. You know, the first time I watched it, I was a little bit hesitant, like maybe most people were, but by the time I finished it, I just absolutely loved it, and I've rewatched it a couple times now. But we would never have Better Call Saul without Breaking Bad. And of course I have every season of Breaking Bad, season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, and then they split season 5 into 2, so part 1 and part 2 there. And I heard that Netflix is getting rid of Breaking Bad, so they are losing their license on it. So physical media, once again, way better for you. And then continuing with Bees, we talked about Angel, but then we also have to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This show means so much to me, man. Watched it growing up, and I just love the campy humor to it, but it also gets really dark, really serious at times. It was a show very close to my heart. I love the characters, and I love Xander Harris. I don't know what the internet's obsession with is hating that character, because every character in the show does horrible things at one point or another. Characters fuck up, make mistakes, hurt other people. You know, I'm not saying Xander is innocent from not doing bad things, but every character does bad things in that show, and I don't know why Xander is always the one that's singled out as like the character that you have to hate. I love Xander, so I'm gonna continue loving Xander. But yes, so season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5, season 6, and season 7. And along with that, the other Joss Whedon show is Firefly. This was only 1 season long. It's a space western. And like I said, Serenity, the movie, is actually the follow-up to it. So it's sort of like the sequel to the series. But good stuff nonetheless. This next one, you kind of have to understand the time period I grew up in, because I have Hogan Knows Best on DVD. At least the first 3 seasons. They never released season 4. What the hell? The VH1 was very popular in the early 2000s for having these weird reality shows, and they had like Room Raiders and the Next Bus and all these weird dating shows. But Hogan Knows Best was one of their big shows, and I just remember watching a lot of it when I was like 13, 14. I don't know why, and it just always stuck with me. So sometimes, have some friends over, have a few drinks, and watch Hogan Knows Best. It's a good time, I promise. Then I have How I Met Your Mother. I had the whole series. Now, I loved this show when it first came out, because I'm not a big sitcom fan. Like, there's only a few sitcoms, and I have my 2 favorites, and those are probably the only ones I'll ever buy, because I just don't like the sitcom format that much. However, How I Met Your Mother, I thought, stood apart because it felt very relatable, because I felt like, I was young, I was dating, trying to navigate life, and it talks a lot about things that really happen in that world. Like, it's not just exaggerated sitcom scenarios, although it can be. A lot of times it's talking about, needing to move on from past relationships, or what it means when friendships grow apart, and just like there's a lot of life lessons in this show, and I think that it gets a little bit bogged down because too many people make fun of the joke of like, oh, he's telling this kid's this whole story about how he had sex with all these girls. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's the process of finding his wife. And like, people hate Ted, but the thing that you have to also understand about that show is like, once again, he's not a perfect person. He's becoming the person he needs to be to meet his future wife. So he fucks up, he makes mistakes, he's cringe. Yeah, that's part of the point of the show, to show him growing into a better person. I don't know. Anyways, I got all 9 seasons of that. I got the first 2 seasons of Rick and Morty. I really loved this show when it first came out, but it kind of wore off its welcome for me after a while. After season 2, I kind of fell off of it, and I haven't really ever gotten back into it. I also have the first 2 seasons of Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Anybody that grew up in my era, once again, will remember this playing at midnight almost every night. This was the Adult Swim show before Adult Swim was even a thing. Before anything else, Space Ghost was the template. That was the first one. And then I have only season 1 of the Spawn animation, and I've always wanted to get all of it, and I hope that they release a really good 4K version or something someday, because the Spawn animated series is fan-freaking-tastic. If you've never watched it, I did do a review of it if you wanted to check that out, but I would highly recommend the Spawn animation from the 90s. It's 3 seasons. I think each season is only like 6 or 7 episodes too. It's very short, but pretty incredible for the time period. And then of course, you gotta have the first and second seasons of SpongeBob SquarePants, because why not? I got the first 2 seasons of Tales from the Crypt. This is again one of those things where I started collecting it, and then I held off because I was always hoping they would release a big Blu-ray set or something like that, and I don't know if that ever happened. But Tales from the Crypt season 1 and 2. And then the other sitcom that I really love is That 70s Show. I adore this series. I grew up with it, so once again, it's a nostalgia thing. I watched it as a kid, becoming a teenager, so I think it started when I definitely still in like elementary school or middle school, but I watched pretty much every episode with my parents, like as it aired until it finished. And by that point, I was like 14 or 15. So I felt like I grew up with this show, you know what I mean? And I still like it a lot. So, okay, so that's it for television shows. I told you I don't have a lot of TV shows, but I do want to get more. So then I have a few concert and music DVDs. So I have Blink-182's The Urethra Chronicles 2. I have the Blink-182 music videos, at least up until the end of the Untitled album. Then I have Iron Maiden, Rock in Rio concert. Then I have the Kill Switch Engage, Set the World Ablaze. And then just for the lulz, and once again, sometimes you want to get your friends over, have a few drinks, and have a lot of laughs. So, of course, I have R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet. All right, so, and that will do it there. So now we are going to get into anime. So this is the anime collection portion. Let's get right into it, not waste any time. Got to start out with the Blu-ray of Akira, one of the best to ever do it. Highly recommend it, even to non-anime fans. Very happy to have this. This is the Berserk 97 series. For the longest time, this was out of print. There was never a Blu-ray copy. This just came out last year, so this is still pretty new. They finally released the 97 series on Blu-ray. Glad to have that. In the meantime, I did find some DVDs of the 97 series. I have a couple. I found these at like a pawn shop, so they only had the first two, but I figured I'd pick them up just to have in the collection. And then I have the Blu-ray of the Berserk movies as well, which is kind of a retelling of the 97 series, if you don't know. Then the icon, the god itself, Cowboy Bebop, the best anime ever. This is the anime I recommend to people that have never watched anime because it's only 26 episodes. It's a short time investment. It's an adult anime, and I don't mean the hentai stuff. I mean like it's mature characters, mature themes. It's not too wacky or over the top. Like it's a sci-fi sort of Western style of these misfit characters that have broken paths all kind of coming together. Really good stuff. A lot of like film noir kind of things. There are some comedic episodes, but most of the episodes are, dramatic or action oriented. Really good stuff. Cowboy Bebop is the best. And then there's also a Cowboy Bebop movie, which is also really, really good. Then I have Cowboy Bebop on DVD as well, complete series. Death Note, the complete series on Blu-ray. And then we get into Dragon Ball. So, again, anybody in my age bracket is probably a huge Dragon Ball fan. I absolutely love the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. We'll get to more Dragon Ball Z stuff a little bit later, but I'm not a fan of the newer stuff, so I tried to give it a shot. I don't like Dragon Ball Super or anything, but of the original 90s Dragon Ball, I got it all. So I got all 5 seasons of the original Dragon Ball. And Dragon Ball is underappreciated. I think that as I get older, the more and more I love it, and even like it more than Dragon Ball Z. But I got all 5 seasons of Dragon Ball. Let's see, season 2. Try to show all this off as quickly as I can. Season 3. There's season 4. And season 5. And a lot of people don't like these. They call them the orange bricks, and it's because they did a lot of, there's like cropping of the image. It's not the right aspect ratio and stuff. And, when they release a better version, I will get it. But as of right now, I don't mind the orange bricks that much. I mean, it doesn't bother me that much. I understand the criticisms, but overall, it doesn't bother me enough to the point where I can't watch it, And growing up, watching it on Toonami and everything, I do prefer the Falconer score, which I know is blasphemous to a lot of Dragon Ball Z fans, but there's something about that score that, to me, not only is it nostalgic, but it also hypes me up. It gets me motivated. Like, I'll listen to the Falconer score just in the gym when I'm lifting weights, you know what I mean, on its own. So even separate from Dragon Ball Z, I still prefer the Falconer score just to listen to. But yeah, so that's all of Dragon Ball Z. And that's all I really care about, to be honest. I do have Dragon Ball GT, which I think has good ideas, just not the best execution. But I have all of Dragon Ball GT as well. And then I have the specials and movies. So I have Trunks and Bardock special there on Blu-ray. This is an original Ocean dub of the World's Strongest. For anybody that doesn't know, Dragon Ball Z had a different dubbing when it first aired in the first 2 seasons before it switched to Funimation. So this is like the original dubbing of World's Strongest. And then I have the movie collection, so I have all of the Dragon Ball movies. So this is Curse of the Blood Ruby, Sleeping Princess and Devil's Castle, Mystical Adventure, and Path to Power. Then I have the Dragon Ball Z movies. So this is Dead Zone, World's Strongest, Tree of Might, Lord Slug, Cooler's Revenge. Then I have Return of Cooler, Android 13, Broly, and Bojack. And finally, Broly's Second Coming, Bio Broly, Fusion Reborn, and Wrath of the Dragon. So all of the original Dragon Ball Z movies there. Of the new stuff, all I have is Battle of Gods, which I do quite like, actually. And then I have the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, but I don't have Dragon Ball Super, the series itself, or anything. I have Fooly Cooly here that was sent to me by a subscriber. Thank you, Dr. Manhattan. I appreciate it. Good series. Then I have the complete series of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is my favorite of the Full Metal Alchemist shows. Then I have all of Gantz. These came in bigger packaging, but the packaging was too big to put on the shelf, so this is the complete series of Gantz, which is Season 1 and Season 2. It only covers a very small portion of the manga, so I would highly recommend reading the manga over watching the anime, but the anime is a good introduction. It's a good, kind of a good start, I guess. I have the original Ghost in the Shell movie there, the first one, and then I have Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Season 1. I'm going to get Season 2 and review it pretty soon. Golden Boy, another gifted to me by Dr. Manhattan. Thank you, man. Check out my review on that. That's all I got to say. And I have a mission that I'm trying to collect all the classic anime that I watched growing up on Toonami back in the day. So, of course, I had to get Gundam Wing. This is part 1 and part 2, the complete series of Gundam Wing. Had to have it. And along with that, I've had this since the early 2000s. This is the Gundam Wing Endless Waltz movie. This is the literal DVD I've had since like 2002, so I still have it. Then I have one of the most badass vampire pieces of media of all time, Hellsing Ultimate. This show is badass, my man. Like, I adore this series. I adore this character. One of my favorites of all time. Then we have the complete series of Hunter x Hunter. Well, complete as far as what exists as the anime, because we know that the manga is still ongoing. So Hunter x Hunter, Part 1, Collection 2. They're not really in seasons. They're kind of just in collections. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And along with that, I also have the 2 Hunter x Hunter movies, Phantom Rouge and what was the other one called? Last Mission. So I have that too. So that's all of the Hunter x Hunter anime that exists. And that actually finishes the first display case. Now, I do have another one, but I have very few on there. It's a new display case for the next set of movies that I get. So let's move over and finish this out. All right, so let's see if we can finish this up properly. This is my second movie case display that I just got. I just assembled it last week because my movies were beginning to overflow and I needed a second one. This is also my horror wall. So you can see the Evil Dead 2 poster there. There's more stuff up there that you can't see. But anyways, continuing, we are still in anime. So the next anime series I have all of, and I don't care if you make fun of me for it or not, is Inuyasha. Again, another series I watched growing up that I absolutely adore. I have so much fun with Inuyasha. I have all the seasons there. 2, there's 3, it's Shomaru, best character. 4, 5, and 6. But as many of you may or may not know, Inuyasha, the original series, never finished the story, and so there is a final season called Inuyasha The Final Act that eventually wraps up the series properly. So all of that I have there as well. The next one is another DVD that I've had since probably, the early 2000s, Ninja Scroll. This is a movie that changed my life. I am not kidding you. I've talked about this 100 times on the channel, but Ninja Scroll is one of the most violent, adult, sexual, insane anime movies you will ever watch from the 90s. The animation is incredible. It is a masterpiece of a film. However, I watched this movie for the first time when I was 12 years old, and the only context for anime I had at that point was like Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon. So watching Ninja Scroll was literally a transformative experience for me. It traumatized me in the best possible way, and I still love the movie to this day. Ninja Scroll, highly recommend. Then I have Outlaw Star complete series on Blu-ray. Another classic anime from my youth. One that I really love called Paranoia Agent by Satoshi Kon. This series is a little bit difficult to explain, but it is episodic, but at the same time there is an overarching story that's going through all the episodes. It's only one season, but I definitely highly recommend it. Another Satoshi Kon movie, Perfect Blue. This is another one of those anime films that I would recommend to people if they haven't gotten into anime. Like if you're a big horror and thriller fan, but you've never really watched anime, I would recommend the movie Perfect Blue. It's only like 90 minutes long. It might even be a little bit shorter than that, but it's like a suspense thriller. And if you like the movie Black Swan, which I showed earlier, a lot of Black Swan is influenced from Perfect Blue, so I'd highly recommend it. Next one, I have Pokemon, the original Indigo League series on Blu-ray. Now, I do have a bone to pick with this because this says that this is season 1, right? So you think it's the complete season, but it's actually not. It's like 2/3 of the series. And I didn't realize that until after I bought it. So I actually had to buy the individual DVDs. I had to buy the part 3. There's a part 1, part 2, and part 3. So the Blu-ray has part 1 and part 2 on it, but it doesn't have part 3. What the fuck? Why call it season 1 if it's not all of season 1? Anyways, part 3 finishes up Indigo League, so I had to buy that. And then I also have a Blu-ray of the first 3 Pokemon movies as well. Now beyond that, another one I've had for a very long time is the Rurouni Kenshin anime series. I have season 1 and season 2. These are the original 90s Kenshin series DVD releases. These are sent out of print. Now, technically, there was a season 3, but season 3 is all filler material and it's not that good, so I always put off getting it. I was like, well, I'll get it eventually, yada yada. And then all of a sudden, like 20 years went by and I never picked up season 3. And now it's out of print and I don't have it, and I'm not going to pay ridiculous prices for it because season 3 is not good. Anyways, but I do have that. And then when it comes to Rurouni Kenshin, it was released a little bit strangely overseas because it's also known by another title, which is Samurai X. So I think Anime Works got the rights to the TV series, which is still called Rurouni Kenshin, but then ADV Films got the rights to the extended material and they called it Samurai X. So there's a movie called Samurai X the Movie, even though it's Rurouni Kenshin. And then there's also the OVAs, and these are like, I guess you could consider them like mini-series. So there's Samurai X Trust and Betrayal, which is 4 episodes, and Samurai X Reflection, which is 2 episodes. And these are essentially a prequel and a sequel to the anime series. The prequel tells the backstory of Kenshin that the anime never got around to, and this, I would say, is one of my favorite pieces of anime of all time. So you can watch this on its own because it is the backstory of Kenshin. Now, technically, does that spoil, you know, the mystery of Kenshin's backstory? Yeah, but this also works because it's a prequel. You don't have to see any other Kenshin to understand it. You can pretty much come into this and just enjoy it as its own thing. So it's 4 episodes, but each episode is a half an hour long, so you can watch this like as a 2-hour movie. And it's the entire backstory of Kenshin, and it's really, really good. Samurai X, Trust and Betrayal, one of the best things I've ever seen. It is a fantastic adaptation. And then Reflection is sort of giving an ending to the series, although it's not the ending in the manga. And a lot of people are like, oh, Samurai X Reflection adapts the Jinshu arc. I mean, it adapts like 15 minutes worth of the Jinshu arc. It's like this very, very tiny portion. We still haven't got the Jinshu arc animated yet, as far as I'm concerned. Then we have what I have of the Tenchi series, Tenchi Universe, the complete series. Now, there's this elusive Blu-ray of Tenchi Muyo, the original Tenchi series that I have been looking for forever. They used to have it in stock, but now it's out of print and you can't find it for under like hundreds of dollars. So if anybody out there has the Blu-ray of Tenchi Muyo, and there's also like there's foreign versions that I can't get over here because they're different region coded, so I'd have to get a whole different region code Blu-ray player and all that. So I don't know. All I'm saying is if anybody out there has a Blu-ray copy of Tenchi Muyo, the original series, and wants to part ways with it, hit me up, man, because I desperately want it. But I do have Tenchi Universe. Then I also have Tenchi in Tokyo. I have the complete series of that as well. And then I have the Tenchi movies, which I'll put over there. I have the first Tenchi movie, which is really good movie. And I have the third one, but I don't have the second movie, which once again is out of print. Now, I'm not as diehard about getting that one as I am Tenchi Muyo, but once again, if you have the second movie and you want to send it my way, let me know. Excuse me. Then I have Trigun on DVD, complete series, the 90s version. Then I have season 1 of Vinland Saga on Blu-ray. I saw that they did release season 2, but I'm a little bit annoyed about it because they're releasing season 2 in 2 parts, and both parts are like $60 a piece. Now, this was like $60 when it came out, and I didn't want to spend that much, but I was like, whatever, fuck it. I'll throw down for a whole season. But $60 for half a season is insane. I'm not going to do it. So I'm not going to get season 2 of Vinland Saga until it comes down in price. And then I have another series extremely close to my heart. I do have the collector's set, but I displayed it somewhere else in the house other than out here. But this is Yu Yu Hakusho. Absolutely one of my all-time... I'm wearing my Yu Yu Hakusho hoodie. I didn't even... Yeah, look at that shit. Yeah, representing. Yu Yu Hakusho, man, on Blu-ray. It looks so good on Blu-ray. These are great transfers. Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and Season 4. And then it also comes with the new OVAs, which are on here in the collector's set. Really, really good stuff. I adore Yu Yu Hakusho so much. One of my all-time favorites. Before the Blu-rays, I did have the whole series on DVD as well. So there's the whole, all 4 seasons on DVD. And this is Aizu Hakusho, so this is like just some sort of extra material. It's like little shorts of things that technically happen after the series is concluded. So if you're a completionist, you know it's worth having. Also has the first Yu Yu Hakusho movie on there. But this last one here is very elusive. So this is the second Yu Yu Hakusho movie called, I don't know what the Japanese title is, but they just translate it as Poltergeist Report for the English. So this movie was never picked up by Funimation that did the series and all the other stuff. This was dubbed before the series even came out. And this is extremely hard to find. I don't know what happened. I think I looked it up one time. I think the company that put this out went bankrupt or something. And so like something is tangled up with the rights that Funimation was never able to get the rights to this movie. So there is a full Yu Yu Hakusho movie out there that is not dubbed by the Funimation crew that dubbed everything else. And it's never been released by them. This is the only release in English. I'm talking about in America. I don't know about other countries, but in America, this is the only release to ever exist for this Yu Yu Hakusho movie. And I found this at a used DVD store, and I immediately picked it up. So, I don't know, man. One of those elusive ones. All right, so now all I have left are a couple of VHS tapes. I used to have many, many more VHS, but just, I don't know what happened to them. I think my parents sold them and never told me, but this is what I have so far for VHS. So, I have a copy of Aliens. I have Batman Returns on VHS. I have Deep Blue Sea, the only other shark movie besides Jaws that is really good. I have the original Dumb and Dumber that I watched 1,000 times when I was a kid. I do have a copy of the American TriStar Godzilla on VHS, alongside another Roland Emmerich movie with Independence Day. I have a copy of The Land Before Time, which may actually be the oldest movie of my whole collection that I own, because this is the same exact copy I watched when I was like however old, 4 or 5 years old. So yeah, this is probably actually the oldest movie in my collection as far as me owning it. I have a VHS of Men in Black, Mortal Kombat from the 90s. I have both The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. Jackie Chan movie called Mr. Nice Guy. It's pretty good. And then I have the original non-special editions of Star Wars, and then Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. These are not from childhood. I also picked these up at a used video store, but yeah, they are the pre-special edition versions. Now, the only other stuff I have on this case are movies that I made. So this is this is the first horror movie I ever made when I was 15 years old, called Possessed. This is not online right now because I need to find a way to get it onto my computer, because this is literally the only copy I have is just this DVD, and I'm very careful with it because I don't want to fuck it up, but I will get it online. And then I also decided to put my video games on here, so I may as well just show you this, just to show you everything that's on the shelf. So, video game territory now. And these are the only ones that I have. Obviously, I had tons. You know, I had Super Nintendo, 64, PlayStation. I think they're all gone once again. I think my parents sold them away. These are the only survivors of PS2. But I have Devil May Cry, Devil May Cry 1 or 2, Devil May Cry 3, Evil Dead Regeneration, God of War 2, GTA Vice City, San Andreas. I have Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and the Punisher game, which was badass that nobody remembers or talks about, but this game was the shit. Now, the only other thing I have that I did not show in this video is I have my complete collection of Dragon Ball Z VHS tapes from childhood. They did survive. I took as good a care of them as I possibly could, and they were how I collected and watched Dragon Ball Z back in the day. But I have already done a video of my Dragon Ball Z VHS collection, so I will link that down in the description below if you want to go just that extra step further and count all of the Dragon Ball Z VHS tapes that I have. But beyond that, that has now concluded my entire movie collection, Blu-ray, DVD, television shows, and anime. So hopefully you guys have liked this. This is also an experiment with my new camera to see how well it records and all of that kind of stuff. So I know that I have put this off for quite a while. It's been like over 3 years, but I figure that gives enough time to accumulate more movies to talk about anyway. So let me know what you guys think of my collection down below. Let me know some of your favorites that I have, some that you're wondering why don't I have them. In many cases, it's just because I just haven't had a chance to pick them up yet, and I got to be very strategic with my spending. So, you know, sometimes I can't just grab everything I want all at once. It's a slow accumulation, but regardless, thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.